sometimes people think homeless is just being on the street, with your bags and the cart. Um, Homeless for me was not having a place of my own that I could go to when I left work, and just
Mm.
relax or whatever. So I stayed in multiple places with different people. Few times I was in my car, but in that place of where I was, I didn't mind being there. It didn't bother me to be there. I was okay to be there. I was like, right now I deserve to be here. My sister's not here. I should have done more for her. My parents are gone, my brother is gone. Yes, I have my daughter, but she's going to be well taken care of. I was like, I have insurance. I was just in that place. And I was, like I said, I'm just now sharing this with everybody since I'm a very private person.
What is up? Welcome back to the CA Power Player Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Askins. I'm excited today for our special guest from Tupelo, Mississippi with Glamour Enterprises. I call her one of the Tupelo tornadoes with her friend, Letitia Jackson. She is growing a massive business and an agency. Please welcome to the podcast for the first time ever, Jennifer Lawrence.
Hi, Cody. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here and hanging out with us. I appreciate you. You also, you spoke at 8% Virtual.
Yes.
Back in, I think it was like March, and you crushed it, by the way.
Thank you.
Dang, where did you learn to speak?
God.
Okay.
That's really where I learned.
Church.
Church was another place. And also, if anybody ever heard of this organization called the 4-H Club. So I was there as well.
I love it. That's amazing. You also were on the entire Ultimate Agent Tour back in October of 2022, where we went to 5 cities on 5 days in a jet with your friend Letitia and a bunch of other awesome people. How was that experience for you?
Cody, that was a mind-blowing experience. It was like one of those trips of a lifetime, if you will. It's one of those things that no matter how many you have after that, the first one will always be the special one. It was great to meet other colleagues, other people who are aspired to be in a way, but be my own self, my own identity, to learn from others, what worked well for them, what didn't work well for them, just a camaraderie, fellow, people in this industry, and just gleaning their knowledge and just being in the room of just so much greatness was really mind-blowing for me.
I love it. That's amazing. Well, I think you are quite great yourself.
Well, thank God.
Yep. Amen to that. You're building what are you like? You have like a mid 6-figure agency on the way to 7-figure, something
Pretty
like that?
Much, yes. We're looking to crush that 1 million. That's where I want to go, that 7-figure, if you will. I'm super excited about what God is doing in our agency and for the people that we have partnered with.
Yes. And when you say, okay, you know what, we've grew to this level. Did you ever think, when you were growing up, did you think, you know what, I'm going to become a 7-figure earner?
No, I just thought when I grow up, really, I have to laugh when I say this. I thought I would be an actress, an entertainer, something to do with theater, because I just always like to do crazy stuff and make people laugh and have fun. Yeah. And that's what I really thought. I didn't think about the money part of it. I just thought, let me grow up and have fun and make other people happy. And that's where I was.
Well, people definitely have fun when they're around you. Is that who you've always been, even as a kid and growing up? Like someone's just been happy and go lucky and like,
Yes, I mean, pretty much so. Of course, we all have challenges throughout our lives, right? So being that I grew up in a single family home with my mom and my aunt and my other cousins and siblings. And just, I always like to make people laugh. Even when I got in trouble in school, Cody, I would stand outside in the hall. They put you in the hall back then. I don't know if they do that now. And I had this pigtail and I had a red bow on it and there was a little window. And so I was outside with my little pigtail dangling in the window. And so of course I got in more trouble. So I just always like to make people laugh.
I love it. Yep, I love that. Well, and being positive is really important, and it's difficult in this business.
Yes.
But you've been someone that seems to embody positivity and is really focused on growing a business and helping people along the way. if you had to credit one person on earth for
Mhm.
your positivity and who you are today, who would you credit to that?
My mom.
Yeah.
My mom was a very positive person at the age of 25. She's a single mom with 3 children. My mom was a minister, by the way. She left at the young age. When I say left, she left the earth at the young age of 50.
Mm,
But she always, from when I knew her, she was just a positive person. Yes, she had challenges throughout her life. Yes, there were things that she wished had never happened, but I never saw her, mumble or complain or anything like that. She just
yeah,
took care of us the best that she could and instilled Christ in us. And that's the type of person she was.
absolutely. Yeah. When you were what did you want to be when you grew up? I mean, you said an actress. Was that still the same way in high school? And
Yes, I
yeah.
even went to college and took, theater, and then, life happened. Yeah, life happened. Life happened for me. I had a daughter. Then my mom left very young, and then after her, it just kind of, my dad, my brother, my sister, and so it just kind of crowded in on me, and I went into a little dark place. I called it, but that's not where God wanted me. And through His grace and His mercy, I was able to, just remember what my mom taught me as a little girl about Christ and how God loves us, and just leaning and depending on Him helped me to come out to where I am today. I'm thriving. I'm pushing hard. There are still moments, but I just remember, hey, God has a plan for my life, and I got to see it through. I want to see what it is.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And what was that dark place back then? I feel like a lot of agents about to relate to, like, we all go through tough times in life.
Yeah, for me, dark was my immediate family not being here. I had already quit my job, before my sister passed away. And then from there, after I quit my job, I ended up having to move to another location, and that didn't work. I was homeless for a moment.
Wow.
Um, I don't talk about that part of it very
Why
often, but
not?
I was homeless.
Why not? Well, why don't you talk about being homeless?
Well, because it brings about feelings of depression a little bit, or maybe a shameness, because I had this thing that I didn't want people to know a whole lot. I'm a very private person, by the way,
Hmm.
and
Where's that come from?
I,
Because
I
you're
think,
someone that could be very like public and like vibrant and like sharing your gift with the world.
well, back in 8%, when I was talking about it, I just only tapped into a little bit of. I used the word sabotage. I because I just feel like I didn't deserve it. Whatever the
Mm,
it was, I didn't deserve to be happy. I didn't deserve to be wealthy. I didn't deserve to be healthy. I just didn't deserve anything. I just was in that dark place. I just did not deserve it.
yeah.
And I felt like at one point, Cody, I felt like my life would just, people would be better. I would be better if I was just not here. That's how dark it got for me. When I was homeless at that point, I had my daughter in one place, I was in another place, trying to thrive, trying to push through it, not not really wondering how I got there, because at the end of the day, I think there were just things that I did that caused me to be there, but I didn't care. That's where I was. After my sister passed away in 2007, I just didn't care. And that's how I ended up in that dark pit, that dark place.
Yeah. Were you and your sister close growing up?
Very. My sister, I was the oldest, but she was my big little sister. That's what I called her. She, I've never been married, so she was like my husband, my boyfriend, my tax prepared. When I was a general manager at this fancy restaurant called Pizza Hut, my sister came there, and she worked there with me on kids' night, so she was a big part of me. So that was very
Yeah.
tough for me.
Um, I want to go back to being homeless. Talk through. I know that's not something you want to talk about, but I think a lot of people can like. Okay, so here's an example. A lot of people are gonna be like, okay, man, I want to be where Jennifer is, but I've never been homeless, and I think I have all these excuses and problems, and maybe I really don't. And I think you can help some people and wake them up to like what they're capable of and their real potential. What vividly explain what being homeless was like?
Okay. Sometimes people think homeless is just being on the street, with your bags and the cart. Um, Homeless for me was not having a place of my own that I could go to when I left work, and just
Mm.
relax or whatever. So I stayed in multiple places with different people. Few times I was in my car, but in that place of where I was, I didn't mind being there. It didn't bother me to be there. I was okay to be there. I was like, right now I deserve to be here. My sister's not here. I should have done more for her. My parents are gone, my brother is gone. Yes, I have my daughter, but she's going to be well taken care of. I was like, I have insurance. I was just in that place. And I was, like I said, I'm just now sharing this with everybody since I'm a very private person. I was in different hotels, staying with different people that I knew. And, and when I was staying at these hotels, I was working a little job, it was a little part-time. That's when I started back working, because after my sister, I did not work for a period of time. And that's when I lost the place I was in, and I moved into another place, and I had to move out of there, and I just said, forget it. And the place that I ended up, I literally at some point, Cody, did not care if I was alive or not. I remember going to a park where I live, and I remember looking at the water, and I was thinking I could just walk out into it. I remember driving on highways and thinking I could just pull out in front of a truck. Nobody would know, but I knew but I would know. And that was the one thing I think that stopped me, because, from my Christian background, and then I was like, God, you got to help me. If you don't help me, I'm out of here, because I'm done. I'm done with it. There was a lot of pressure. It was a lot of disappointment. How did my life end up here from when I was a little girl with all my dreams, things that I wanted to do, take care of my mom, take care of my family. Now, no matter what I do, my mom is not here, my dad, my brother, my sister. Those were my thoughts. Nobody's here to see this.
Yeah. What was your, what did you see your future as when you're in that moment and you're at that like all-time low?
I did not see a future. I did not. I did not see one. For me, it was my daughter would be taken care of, and my sister, she had two children. At the time, they were very young. They were 9, and my nephew was 13. And my daughter was a teenager. She's about 17, I believe she was. And I just felt like there was just no point. My sister was a big part of my life. She was always there. I watch my daughter now. My daughter has two 6-year-olds, a 6 and a 5-year-old. So I look at them play, and I'm reminded of, this was how my sister and I was. I can't talk to a lot of people about, when you have siblings, you can say, oh, you remember when mom did this, or remember we went here, and I can't talk to anybody about that, because they're not here to talk to about it. So really, I don't talk about my sister much. A lot of people may not even know that she's deceased to this day, because if they say something to me like, how's your sister? I'll just say, oh, she's great, because I know in heaven she is great. And that's kind of where I leave it. I don't expound on it. It's still a tough subject for me, my sister.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I've often said, if my sister was here, I would be 8 figures, 10 figures, because my sister would be right here with me. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I appreciate you sharing that too. I know that's hard. How difficult is it? Like, I'm assuming when you're spiraling and you're in that place, obviously, I mean, are you emotional? Is it like, obviously you lose confidence. It's a tough mental state to be in, but like, how do you come out of it? How do you fight back? How do you become the person you are today? Because there's a lot of people that are going to listen to this that are going to be like, dude, I totally get what she's saying, man. Like, I've been there. I get it. And I can't, I've had, sure, everybody has lows. I can't say that I've personally been there, right? I can't, and I cannot personally relate, even though we all have our different things we go through. A lot of people are going to learn from your story and relate to that and listen to this and say, you know what? I can do that too.
Yes. It's very emotional sometimes if I talk about my sister a lot. I have taken my sister, if you will, things I have just say my family, and I've kind of put them in a box, and they're just not every so often I'll go and visit that box. But if I stay too long, Cody, I can feel myself get depressed. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to get up. I just kind of want to lay there, and I call it the dark place.
Do you feel like you're being pulled? Do you feel like if you do that, you're being pulled back into that?
Yes, because I've never really dealt with it with my sister even, because when she left, I'll never forget, she was in the hospital, and I just remember I had left and I had come back and she wasn't in the room, and they had taken her to do something, and she hadn't really been talking that much the day before, I think it was. But anyways, I was in the room and I started talking to my aunt and my sister. They were wheeling her past, the door, and she goes, "That's my sister." And she said it with such passion. And I was just happy to hear her voice. And like I said, it's just very difficult because I really miss her like every day. One of the ladies that worked with me, she's been with me now almost 10 years, almost 10, just on and off. And so she worked with me when I was, at Pizza Hut with my sister. And we, she would just say, I call her a sister, by the way. Her name was Cherie. Excuse me. Her name was Cherie. Give me a minute. Sorry.
You're okay. You're right.
Of course, my name is Jennifer. And I want to get you, Cody. We would call each other sister. We stopped even saying our names. I stopped saying Cherie. She stopped saying Jennifer. We would just say, "Hey, sister." And so my sister leaving, like I said, she was the last of my immediate family in 2007. Actually, my birthday is November 27th. And her birthday in heaven is November the 28th. And it was right after Thanksgiving. I was born on Thanksgiving.
Wow.
So really, I don't even celebrate my birthday much, because right after the birthday, it was her day.
Yeah.
And but I've gotten better over the years. I've gotten better.
Yes. Yes. How does someone, like, if you were giving advice to someone on how they are homeless or going through tragedy or whatever, how they're coming out of that mental state and that loss of confidence, how do they come out of that? How do they get out of that? How do they move past all that?
Well, for me, it took prayer. I had to push myself sometimes to go to church, because I would sit there sometimes. And to be honest with you and open, I was angry at God, like, "God, you could have done something about this. You give life, we have faith, and we were praying and we believing." And so it took prayer. It took my daughter. Another thing that happened for me, I have a god niece. Her name is Ansley, and she was born right after my sister. So the young lady that works for me now, she needed someone to babysit. So I have this baby. I was there when she was born, and so it was like, even though my sister left, God brought this life into my life that I was, to help pour into, pray over, sing with. I took her to church with me, and just, she was just like my little baby, even though she wasn't, So that helped. The main thing I would have to say is God. Because once I went out there to that lake and I said, God, you have to help me or I'm done. And
Mm.
I remember going back to the house and I remember reading my Bible and praying. I remember watching TBN. And I don't know, I listened to Joyce Myers at that time a lot and different other ministries and just getting the word in me, the word of God in me. That was giving me strength to
Yes.
say, Jennifer, you can make it. Jennifer, I still have a plan for you. And I'm like, well, what is it? I need to know what it is because this is really hard to be the only one left and not really understanding coming from a Christian home and we had faith and we believe in miracles and healings and all of those things. And then I not see it right now for me. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you ever stop and think how proud they are of you and what you've accomplished?
No. And I never have. I never no.
I mean, you may not be a movie star,
Yeah.
but it won't be long and you'll be making more than a decent percentage of all movie stars, right?
Right.
And you can do it forever and they can only do it while
True.
they're in their career, It's
That's
cool.
true.
Special. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a good way to look at it. I didn't think about thinking of them and what they would think of me now. I'm just, I like I said, I just take it, I put it in the box, and I take it out, and then I put it back, and I don't visit it for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should be proud. You've became quite the positive, uplifting, like amazing, caring individual that a lot of people strive to be. And they're going to watch and be like, you know what? I want to wake up and be Jennifer Lawrence one day.
Uh-oh.
Right? They may surprise you. I'm telling you. And it wouldn't be, that would not be a bad thing if they're like, they wake up and they're like you one day, like, I think that's awesome. Or a lot of people should aspire to that too. How did you get your business to where it is today?
Well, if you don't mind, let me share a little bit about this dream I had in 2013. I had this dream. And in this dream, that was this preacher, and he's like, say amen. You know how preachers tell you to say amen in the church, and you say amen. They say, look at your neighbor and you look. So in this dream, he said, Glamour Enterprises 3 times. And then he was telling me 3 things to do when starting your business. And one of them was the name, but the name was given to me in the dream. So I almost didn't tell one of my partners about it, but I decided to because I believe God had given me that name. And I'm like, God, what does Glamour Enterprises have to do with insurance?
Mm.
I couldn't figure that one out. Still don't quite know all of it. But years later, he gave me the tagline, the insurance agency model. So we put that in there. And I believe because at that, I believe when we go through seasons in our lives, because for me, I'm going through some seasons right now. We all are.
Mm.
But I had to be obedient to what God was telling me to do, even though I really couldn't see it. So for me to say, how did I get from the negative account or, being without a home? Again, I have to contribute it back to God and listening to the voice. You hear a lot of voices, people saying, why would you name your company Glamour Enterprises? That's, I even had some of my relatives say, girl, you should change your name. I'm like, and I even met with somebody and was considering, like, what do I do here? How can I tie this up with insurance? But I'm like, no, God gave it to me. He has a reason and a purpose for it in the earth. So I'm going to have to listen to what he tells me. That doesn't mean I always listen. That doesn't mean I'm always quick enough to do what he tells me to do.
Yes.
But I do my best to say, God, whatever I believe, I'm going to do this step right here because I believe this is what you're telling me to do. And if I make a mistake, if it's not you, I'm like Joyce Myers, then I know you'll find me and you'll correct it.
Yes. Do you know the percentage of all companies? Because it's funny, you're over here thinking about your name. Do you know what percentage of companies today generate $1 million a year? Of all the companies in the U.S., do you know what percentage it is?
What is it?
It is fewer than 7%.
Wow.
So 7% of all companies in the US do 7 figures. You're over here worried about your name, or other people are, and they're not doing 7 figures,
Well,
right? And
yeah.
probably 1 in 15 to 20 are, and you're about to be one of those, which is pretty freaking cool.
Yay. Praise God.
Yeah.
I'll take
Amen
it.
to that. What advice would you give to an agent that maybe is at 50,000, but they want to go to $500,000 as well?
What advice would I give an agent that's at 50,000 and want to go to $500,000? Well, first of all, my number one advice would be to listen to that inner voice that is speaking to you, because God has every plan, every idea, every strategy is already created specifically for you. That would be the first thing I would say. Second thing I would say is to find what makes you you. Because so many, for myself, I was looking at others. I was looking at their successes, and it's nothing wrong with duplicating, but sometimes we can, what is the word? We want to actually be in their role, and this thing may not be for you per se. So find what makes you you. Find the one thing that I say pulls that makes your energy really goes out into the stratosphere. And what I mean by that, Cody, for me, I started out in life insurance. I went a little bit into Medicare, and then affordable care comes along. And for me, affordable care was like that thing that's like, wow, I had so much energy. I could get up. I would start in the morning, I come back. It would be 12 at midnight. Because I was so passionate about making sure that people were insured.
Yes.
And that they was getting coverage and that it was affordable. So I always look at it that insurance has a lot of doors, right? And find the door that you can walk in that makes you get up early in the morning and come home late at night and you're still full of energy. And that's what affordable healthcare did for me.
I love it. Yeah. And I mean, is that what you focus on? You would say is the primary focus of your agency?
The primary focus is affordable health care. It would be Medicare, would be right there with it. Life would do a little bit of life. And I know life is important, but for me, it was the affordable care. It was like I was trying to do so many things. Oh, I want to do, life insurance. Oh, I want to do the Medicare. Oh, I want to do the annuity. Oh, I want to do the dinner. It was just so much. And when I would see someone who was very successful at that thing, oh, I want to do that too. So, but it was like my hands were in so many, pots, and I was going in so many directions and getting so much, in my head. I just had to find out, okay, Jennifer, what is the one thing that you can do? You can do well at it. You thrive in it, and it was affordable healthcare for me. And that is what helped to turn my business around.
Why do we do that where we see so many different avenues to make money and we struggle to focus and niche down and get really good at one?
Well, for me personally, because I know I have what it takes to, even if it's a 6-figure income, I know I have the drive. I know there is something on the inside of me that I don't care how many webinars you do. I don't care how many podcasts or YouTubes or what conferences you go to. No one can give you that inner drive, right? It's embedded in you. So I knew I had what it would take for me to do whatever it was. But it was because I looked over here and I saw Jane as an example being successful. I looked over here and I saw John over here, and I thought, okay, I can do that. I can do that. But it was not that thing that pulled me. It was not that inner thing that said, oh my God, this is where I need to be right now. Now, mind you, that's where I was. That's where I needed to be right then, because we go through seasons and seasons change.
True.
Right? And their focus can change. So it may be affordable care this season, and you may look up in the next season, it may be something else. But I had to learn how to focus on the one thing, maybe the two things. It was affordable care and Medicare. But I had to stop trying to do 20 things.
Yeah, and they're both under health insurance. So like that's a focus. That makes a lot of sense. I think it's a lot of people struggle with. If they would start to niche down as well and get really good at one or two different things, it can really benefit their business.
Yes.
Are you willing to help others if they need help? Like, do you work with agents?
I do.
Okay.
I was sharing with an agent that was in my office earlier, and how there was this actual agent that I met several years ago when I was a struggling agent and I didn't have a place to stay, even when I actually worked out of town. And we were supposed to be in the hotel. It was myself and two other agents, and they left and went back to Tupelo. And here I am, what, almost, I know it was over 100 miles away from home, no money. I couldn't afford the hotel room by myself. So I called this agent up that I had worked with some years prior, and then she ended up working with her cousin. So I'm like, girl, can you help me out? So she called her mom, and her mom's like, yeah, Jennifer, you can come and stay with me. So for that open enrollment season, 3 days out of a week, when I was 2.5 hours from home, I stayed with this other agent's mom. And so yeah, that was a good experience for me. So that being said, I would encourage. I'm trying to remember where we were because we was talking. What was that question again? You asked me.
Yeah, it was about helping agents and being able to do that. Yeah.
So full circle about. Thank you, Cody, for reminding me of that. I reached out to her. She's now one of our 6-figure agents.
That's awesome.
And she's been with us now for 3 years.
Wow.
So yeah.
What's her name?
Oz.
Oz. I love that. That's so cool. And if other agents are like, hey, I want to be Oz, right? I want to be Jennifer Lawrence. I want to start having some success, or they resonate with you, or they like your story, or they appreciate your vulnerability, or they just have some questions. How can they get in touch with you? Whether you want to share, a number they can text, or an email, or social, or whatever.
They can call my phone number 662-816-8403. They can also go to my Facebook, which is Jennifer Lawrence. I'm in Pontotoc though, because you're going to see that other Jennifer Lawrence.
True.
And then of course we have our website, which is Glamour Enterprises, LLC.com.
Boom. I love it. Jennifer, you're amazing. I appreciate you sharing your story, and thank
You're
you for being on the podcast.
I thank you, Cody, for having me.
Okay. Thank you, J Law. Also, thank you all for listening and watching and hanging out. Let us know in comments below what you've thought of today's podcast with the Jennifer Lawrence, the real Jennifer Lawrence today. Okay. And if you have questions, reach out. She's here to help. She cares, and she can 100% help you turn around your business. So thanks for listening to the Power Player Podcast, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Hey, if you enjoyed this, I got another one you're going to love. It's right there. Click on it. See you in there.
I'm so excited for today's CA Power Player Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Askins. We got a special guest. He is back on the channel talking about how to sell life insurance from home. Here's what I love about this person. Okay, I'm telling you, this will be one of the best.